Hello and welcome to yet another installment of our Quirk Evolution series. For those of you joining us for the first time with this one, what we aim to do here is provide a bit of spotlight to some of the lesser focused characters of My Hero Academia in an attempt to speculate interesting yet plausible ways in which their quirks may further develop. This time around, we'll be honing in on Aoyama Yuga and his quirk, Navel Laser. Now, Yuga is easily one of, if not the weirdest character in Class 1A, but I am thoroughly convinced that once we are done with him, he will be an asset worth cherishing. Now, thanks to his quirk Navel Laser, Aoyama may be categorized as an emitter type quirk user, as he is capable of projecting laser beams from his navel area. And this is something he has displayed a bit of control over in terms of shape and size. And on top of that, it is incredibly bright to the point where he himself actually opts to wearing focal protection. And when it comes to destructive capabilities, you absolutely cannot sleep on this quirk. Thus far, we have seen it pierce straight through incredibly thick concrete, as well as various metals, and this can all be done at varying ranges thanks to Aoyama's size manipulation. And so when it comes to using his quirk on people, Aoyama certainly has an incredible ability to control his own damage output in terms of suppression. And so by extension, we know the lethality and or magnification of his lasers may be manipulated as well. And with that, his lasers actually have some kick to them too, as he can even use their recoil as a means of propelling himself in a desired direction, acting as a tool of traversal. Now, in terms of weaknesses, Aoyama has plenty. First and foremost, he actually has a quirk-based defect, one which causes his quirk to involuntarily emit, which he describes as a sort of leakage. And when once again considering the potential lethality of his unrestricted lasers, something of course had to be done, and so soon after the manifestation of his quirk, Aoyama was made to constantly wear a belt which acts as a limiter on his emissions. After that, we have the fact that he cannot continuously project his lasers without suffering major bowel-related issues. Now, this is certainly the biggest of his problems simply because it means he can only use his quirk for so long. All it would take would be a few seconds of laser projection for him to incapacitate himself, and so as it currently stands, Aoyama is quite possibly the most useless character in Class 1A, if not the entirety of the hero course. And as if that weren't enough, since his lasers emit from his navel area and are linear, he needs to be directly facing a target in order to make an impact. But with all that in mind, let's try our best to salvage this man's potential by commencing our Quirk Evolution process. Now, more than anything, we need to handle that looming weakness of his, which I'd relegate to a lack of stamina. For the majority of his life, Aoyama has relied upon his belt to regulate the leakage of his quirk, and so although it may have been the best choice for an untrained child, as an aspiring hero, relying on that sort of crutch could be detrimental. And beyond that, to remove him as a threat, all it would take is for his belt to be destroyed. And so I feel like his removal of said limiter would allow for his body to better adjust to the drawbacks of his power. It would certainly be a difficult adjustment period, but what better place to practice such a thing than at UA? And considering he can manipulate the destructive potential of his lasers, he could always emit weaker ones in quick succession as to not upset his stomach as quickly. And with his belt acting as a sort of gate on his power output, I'd imagine that without it, he'd be capable of even more devastation. And of course, because of his birth defect, that sort of thing would be pretty dangerous, but I'm kind of thinking high risk, high reward here. And because he would need to be directly facing a target, he could have all his allies stand behind him when he does this sort of thing. And I kind of want to talk about his ability to adjust his lasers because that's probably the coolest thing about his quirk to me. Some light manga spoilers ahead, so if you're anime only, go on and skip to the timestamp on the screen to avoid that sort of stuff. But yeah, thanks to his field study, Aoyama has come up with a new special move named Navel Saber. And this is really cool to me in that it will allow him to be a really awesome close quarters combatant as well as an amazing long range one. But unfortunately, even this is enough to strengthen the friendship between him and his toilet. Now, I try my best not to talk about support items with this series since we already have one dedicated to that sort of thing, But I kind of have to mention that his hero costume allows him to emit lasers from additional points on his body. And this is for sure one of the more substantial costume benefits that we've seen in the series. But what intrigued me the most in relation to the subject matter of this video is that it all but confirms that Aoyama's lasers can be stored, redirected, and/or stockpiled, which to me provides us with yet another workaround for his biggest weakness. But in order to surmount his directional weakness, I'd like to see his shape manipulation go to the next level and allow for the curvature of his beams. However, the innate complication with that would be the fact that light travels in a straight line. But that's just it. In the case of Aoyama's beams, I'd argue that they are not simply the projection of light, and that because they sparkle so much, that they naturally have an insanely high refractive index, which when considering the laws of physics could allow for the sudden shift in their trajectory to a dazzling degree. Now with that, I'd imagine that their desired direction and destination would need to be decided upon prior to release, but man, the unpredictability of that sort of thing and the grace and finesse to which a character like Aoyama would be able to bring to that would be unreal and make just about any of his fights really interesting to see. Now, this guy for me, as it currently stands at least, is a pretty forgettable character. But if any of the changes and/or improvements that we mentioned in this video were to come to fruition, that could very well change, and so hopefully you feel the same way. Go ahead and leave us all your thoughts on this guy and his quirk in the comments, along with who you'd like to see us cover in the next one. I've been seeing some requests for Tailboy and Shoji lately, so help us decide. And be sure to stick around, because if you're looking for more Quirk Evolution, or in general, some of the best My Hero Academia content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I am Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching, and have an awesome day. I love you.